Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast with your host, Bruce Outridge, where he talks all things trucking. Now let's get rolling.
Oh, how's everybody doing today? We have a great show for you today. Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast. This is actually going to be our a new format we're trying. So we are today going to be talking about hot topics. We've got a number of things to talk about, but the first one is going to be our hot topics. What's going on in the industry? What should we be talking about? That kind of thing. That is what we're going to be sharing with you today. Before we get to that, though, let me share with you some of the people that are helping our show be amazing. As always, first of all, we have RIMS Transport. You know, RIMS Transport is an owner-operator based fleet out of Hamilton, Ontario, and they are great sponsors. So if you're looking for flatbed work, end dump, or bulk tanker, then that's where you need to go. Check out RIMS Transport at rimstransport.com. All right, let's get into see what's going on with some of the hot topics we've got going on in the industry right now. Lots to talk about here, and some of this is going to make your head shake, I am sure. All right. Let's just talk about the first one here, shall we? We've got some stuff going on. I don't know if you guys heard about this, the driver termination. That's right, driver termination. This driver, and this came out of Truck News here, was brought out of their story here, and this driver that apparently, and this is kind of interesting how this works, that, you know, the driver elected to do something, company thought it was okay until he got back and then they didn't want to. So this was a BC trucking company. The guy was based out of Calgary, and they said he did not listen to the safety personnel as he did. And so apparently it cost him his employment. So apparently this driver was driving, he was working for a distribution company. He was driving through Washington State, noticed part of his passenger side mirror had fallen off. And Patterson, he said that he contacted the dispatch at the company he was driving for to alert them of the issue, and was told to find a way to temporarily fix it. So he found a strap and fixed it, and decided to go on down the road. Didn't work. He tried a couple different things, and then the company finally sent someone to replace the mirror. But the person arrived and didn't have the right part. How many times does that happen to you? For sure. So what he did is he didn't know what to do. So he continued on his way down to with the mirror not working properly, and finally got to a point where he said, you know what? I'm not sure this is safe to go on. He didn't want to risk a collision or anything like that, and said his employer repaired the mirror. So anyway, he got it down. He managed to get down to where he was going, got back, and said that his employer, he made his way back, and when he got back to the company, they said, return all your fuel cards. Then he went into the office and they gave him a termination letter. And he said that apparently maintenance provided him with a safe and appropriate solution to return the truck back to the terminal. But he chose not to follow those instructions. Well, he did follow those instructions. It just didn't work. And so apparently they gave him like 20 minutes. He was 1,000 kilometers away from his home, so he had to find a way to get home on his own. And he reported that to CTV. So unfortunately, that's why we can't find drivers, because they're treated like that. Now, I don't know the rest of the story of this company, but now he says he's not working in the industry anymore. So this is a challenge we have with a lot of drivers and stuff, and it's unfortunate. We need companies to think a little better on there as well, and start, you know, we need to treat all the drivers with respect, and that's one of the big things. Now, we're here in December. How long have we been talking about this? But Driver Inc. is still in the news. You know, again, I've been to a lot of seminars and stuff with Driver Inc. And we've, you know what, it's still in the news here, and they're saying that Driver Inc. Is causing a lot of problems, not only in one part of the industry, but now it's it's industry wide, and it's causing a lot of carriers to, have challenges. And so now there's some people that were in the less than truckload LTL freight market, and it says that now people are dabbling into that. They're getting into that, and it's causing a lot of problems for a lot of people, especially in rural areas. So they say it's industry wide, and until somebody gets a hold of this and starts doing some enforcement, we're going to be in really, really big issues. It doesn't matter, and they say it doesn't matter whether you're a small carrier, a large carrier, you are going to be affected by this. And I think it would be harder for some of the smaller carriers, because you may find that you really you are in trouble with some of the things going on, as you're not able to bid on contracts the way other people are, and so forth. So broader issues are coming down there. They're saying that it's dropped the rate almost 80 to $1 less than where it should be for this type of freight, and a lot of that is to the bottom line. So also technology is also big in there, that a lot of people are investing in technology. I was just on a podcast. If you've ever checked out Chuck Snow's and Rico's Rate and Lanes podcast, they had a technology guy on there, which is not normal for that, but he was on there talking about, if you don't start investing in AI in the future, that you're going to be behind the ball. These large carriers, that's what they're investing in. It's allowing them to do things faster, do things more, to the point, and getting quicker. And that's where small carriers always had the difference. So one of the things they're saying is you'd better get back on the ball if you're thinking about, if you're not sure about AI or you're not sure about technology, you better really get into that for sure. And then we've got another trucking company that went out of business, as you know, poor McKevitt Trucking, out of, they were out of, I believe, North Bay. They were up that way. Unfortunately, they went out of business, ceasing their operations. If you've ever seen them, they have light blue trucks. In Canada here, they were a staple for sure, that you always could see them. And they were based out of Thunder Bay, but I know they had terminals all the way through the north, and they've decided to shut down operations due to the economy. Where they're saying that it's unable to reach anybody, but that staff are in the process of closing down offices all across Ontario, and the company's website is no longer active. It's based in Cricket Street in Thunder Bay. Sault Ste. Marie, Timmins, Sudbury, North Bay, and Mississauga are all going to be they started with a single truck in 1948. It's a shame to see some of these carriers going out of business that have been long-standing. I remember running alongside the McKevitt guys for years. It really was a big deal. So sorry to see them go. That's really a shame to see them get out of things right there. When we come back, I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of the funny drug busts that have gone on. But first, let me tell you a little bit about CAT Transport. CAT Transport, they've got terminals all across North America. They got one of the greenest fleets on the road. They've got a lot of benefits for drivers. If you're a truck driver, you may want to look into that. All right, and we will be right back to give you some more funny news. Well, I guess it's funny. I don't know. Some truck drivers are in trouble. Here we go.
By far my favorite station.
You're the best. Oh yeah,
I love you guys.
All right, we've got some stories here that are interesting from a driver standpoint. Did you, I don't know if you saw this one about in Illinois, two men from Ontario, Canada, unfortunately, and this is why probably Trump, and I'm not going to get into politicals, but this is probably why Trump is all in trouble, all about people crossing the border. Two Ontario men, after a trooper discovered a suspected, had stopped them, suspected cocaine worth over $40 million in their tractor trailer. This was back in November. A trooper conducted commercial commercial motor vehicle inspection on a truck at Interstate 80 in Henry County. And a search revealed suspected cocaine weighing 1,146 pounds. In a tractor trailer, that's not very much freight. But you know what? They must have gone through the whole thing. 2 men arrested, charged with multiple drug offenses. Not very good for our industry when we see that going on. And unfortunately, that's where we are sometimes today. And then this one I thought was interesting about the, hold on, let me open this for you. Here we go. Come on. All right, this guy had, I've never seen this before. If you've ever had unpaid tolls, you're gonna understand this. So a driver was stopped, and this is in Canada. A driver was stopped. Now it's not a truck driver. It's not a truck driver, but I just thought it was a good story anyway. A driver was stopped for speeding 87 and a 50. So you're talking 37 kilometers over the limit. All right. So usually our police at around that 15 mark, 15 to 20 is where they start. If 20 on the higher highways, like usually they wouldn't. But this one, obviously, he wasn't on the 401 or anything. He was on a smaller street, but usually it's 15 kilometers unless you're in a school zone or something, and then it's usually 20 kilometers over before they really start looking at you. So this driver was doing 37 kilometers over in a 50, which means he was on a normal city street and found with no permit. So he had no driver's license, and he had $54,800 in outstanding fines to the 407. Okay, so I take the 407 a lot. I probably run about, I don't know, $100 a month roughly for what I do. I'm not on it every day, but so this person must be on it all the time and never paid over, I don't know how many years that is, 54,000. Like it is pretty expensive. I'll give them that, but that's probably, I don't know, that's a lot of time on the 407 at $54,800 in outstanding fine. So it's not this year. He just hasn't paid, which is why he doesn't have a permit. I think that's probably all about coordination. I thought that was a little bit hilarious here. And then we've got one more here, where a driver, this happened in New Jersey earlier this month. He did 75-mile chase on Interstate 80 in Iowa, and said he's in custody after the 75-mile chase. Numerous police vehicles involved in the chase of the bobtail truck, which was being driven cautiously and below the speed limit. Now, I don't know if you remember, but back in Ontario here, we had this, I'm going to say a decade ago, where we had this driver who was driving, he wasn't bobtail, he was with a trailer, but he was driving, the police followed him for, this went on all day. And they were waiting, their solution was to wait for him to run out of fuel. That was the solution by the police force. And what they did, I thought this was hilarious, but what they did is they just said, okay, we'll follow him, but the driver was not doing anything wrong. He wasn't speeding, signaled every lane change, just wouldn't let them get in front of him. I don't even know. I can't even remember what it was for. After a while, they discovered he was a decoy for another robbery going on in another area. So while he's driving around I think it was in a stolen truck or something like that, and it was going on, and he was driving perfectly fine, and they arrested him at the end of the day for, I don't know how they got him stopped, but they got him stopped somehow. But I remember they were going on in the news, we're going to wait for him. So this was the same thing. This guy's doing a bobtail, being driven cautiously and below the speed limit, and then they used stop sticks to flatten the tires, but the driver kept going, and the police finally stopped the fleeing trucker at a way station of all places and used non-lethal gas to force the driver from the truck. Now, I don't know what was going on with this one. I don't know the reasoning for the chase. I haven't seen that, but I just thought that was really, really hilarious. And to just round this out with a couple other things, I don't know what you guys think about this, but I saw this article come across, and it says that they're going to they're trying to put in a certain number of training hours for winter driving. So this MPP, Guy Bourgeon, introduced a private members bill that would require all new truck drivers to complete 20 hours of truck simulation training under winter conditions. Now, here's my thought. Isn't that included in the course? Isn't that the whole reason we got melt? Isn't that the whole reason that we... I just thought it was kind of weird that I understand it. Yes, they should have 20 hours but now you're going to kick that course back up, right? Because, well, what happens to the schools that don't have a simulator? Okay, I guess that tells you exactly where you need to go for training. So you need to have a simulator at the school. I think at this time, and I get it. In summertime, someone taking a training in the spring or the summer is not going to have winter driving training unless they are driving to somewhere like the mountains or somewhere. So most new students are not doing that. So I get it. They should have a simulator. But a simulator is not the same as driving. Like the simulator, as much as it's realistic, trust me, I got nothing against simulators. I've tried them myself. I think they're pretty cool. They, at the same time, still don't give you some of the stuff that happens on ice and snow. You could be driving along fine in black ice and poof, you're off the road, right? So I don't know how realistic that's going to be. I mean, I remember coming through Michigan, and you guys probably heard this story if you've heard me or seen me do this for a while, where I was on I-69 and I was loaded pretty heavy. I was passing two trucks. We weren't passing, like they were just driving along, and both of them slid off the road based on the crown of the road. I managed to get onto the left shoulder and grab some gravel, and I came to a stop once I saw that, and then everybody else did. It changed just like that. We had just left the border. It was fine. So this happens. What's your thoughts on 20 hours? Is that enough? And is simulator enough? I think if you're going to do simulator training, they need to be retested in winter conditions. To me, that's what needs to happen there. All right, so that's a couple of things we've got going on here. Mike Million was talking about, Mike of PMTC was talking about some of the enforcement gaps that need to happen. And this goes more back to the Driver Inc., but saying that to get these unqualified drivers off of and we're still calling it Driver Inc., but we're supposed to call it misclassification of drivers, that we need to start getting them a list. We need to start changing things, right? So he's saying that he can identify a long list of changes that would improve safety, fairness, and professionalism in the industry. We have a whole list too. Everybody's got a list, I think. And stronger compliance audits, better enforcement, oversight for trucking schools, and unified system to monitor carriers across all provinces. I agree with Mike. We've talked about that in another episode, so I'm not going to do that here. But it was great to see some of those things. So that's what we've got for Hot Topics today. Let me tell you a little bit about Driver Check. If you haven't heard about Driver Check, they are a drug and alcohol testing company. They've got locations all across North America. They're based out of here. They've got a new location in Ayr, Ontario. So if you want to go and check them out there, that's where they are. They got lots of truck parking for you, and they are a great outfit. We've been using them for a long time. So when we come back, we're going to get into some more stuff here on the podcast. So stay with us.
This has been another episode of the Lead Pedal Podcast. For more information or to subscribe to the podcast, visit theleadpedalpodcast.com and be sure to follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter.
By far my favorite station.
You're the best. Oh, yeah.
I love you guys.
Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast with your host, Bruce Outridge, where he talks all things trucking. Now let's get rolling.
All right, hey, so we're going to talk about captive insurance today. And before I tell you about captive insurance, I got to tell you about Bison Transport, one of the safest fleets on the road for one reason, Right to Decide. That's right, their Right to Decide program is one of the best in the industry. It allows drivers to, have a safe place they can stop at any time, whether it's weather related, maintenance related, the way they feel, anything like that. The driver is in control. That's why most of their drivers are winning great safety bonuses, because they can stop when they want to with no pressure from the company. So if you're looking for a great company to go work for, bisondriving.com is where you should be heading for sure. All right, so we are going to talk about captive insurance today. If you don't know what captive insurance is, then you probably are like me and you didn't really understand what it was. I was at a Fleet Safety Council meeting not too long ago in the Hamilton industry. If you're in Ontario and you're looking for a good safety group, fleetsafetycouncil.com is where you should go. So we had Jacqueline Casser. She's with Brownstone Insurance. She did a presentation on captive insurance, and I didn't understand a lot about captive insurance or what's going on with it, but I got to say that I was pleasantly surprised. I don't know if I was pleasantly surprised because it really had nothing to do, but I guess it cleared up some things for me, because in the industry, we've been throwing around captive insurance a lot. We talk about it a lot and what it can do and what we should do. But nobody really knows what captive is. I know what captive is: a group of companies within an insurance group. That's what I know about captive. That's about all I knew about captive, to be honest with you. And then since then, I have learned a lot about captive insurance. That it's really just a risk management tool is all it really is. It's a way of self-insured. So yes, so I get comments from drivers a lot for some of the companies that I do and that I deal with. And a lot of them say, you know what, Bruce, that company always wins safety awards because they're self-insured. This is what I hear. Now, so I asked that same question because I was a little, I was interested myself, going, what do you mean it's the way that you still got to be safe. Like you don't win an industry safety award. So I asked that question. I said, does it matter if a company is self-insured or not? And really it doesn't, because it's got nothing to do with it's got to do with the safety, of course, but the way captive works. I thought this was really, it's actually a harder insurance to get into. So, if you're looking for insurance, if you own a trucking company and you're trying to get insurance, you could go, there's a number of insurance companies in Canada that you can go and work for. And then there's captive insurance, right? So captive insurance is like a group of companies. Think of 10 of your friends have a club and somebody wants to come into the club. We don't just let anybody into the club. They actually have to prove of our worth, if you want to say it that way. That's what we're talking about here. So captive insurance is a way of think of it like a club where we've got a group of people and somebody wants to come in, and to come into the club, they have to perform at the level of everybody else in the club, because if they don't, they're losing, everybody's going to lose money, and because they're self-insuring. So if I own a trucking company, I'm with a bunch of other trucking companies, and somebody comes in and they don't perform well, not only is their company going to lose money, but my insurance is going to lose money too, because they're taking away from our insurance. So I thought that was really a great way of seeing it. I didn't realize that a lot of the companies are not even located in Canada. So when you insure, a lot of times, I always wondered, because we've got insurance friends, they were always going to Bermuda. Barbados is a big one. I go to Barbados. Maybe I'll start my own insurance company. But they're always going to overseas. And apparently that's where all the insurance companies are located for a lot of different companies, because of different regulations and stuff. It is not a money hiding thing or anything like that. They're actually more regulated over there. It's just easier to do business that way. So that's what we were told. So I thought that was really interesting. It allows, being in a captive allows for a tailor-made solution. So the companies the group, people in the group can say, here's what we want to do, or here's how you have to perform, or anything like that, which I thought was really interesting. So it's actually harder to be in a captive than it is anything else. It allows the people to have control of the insurance costs, so they can decide who comes into the group, how much they want to spend, all of that kind of stuff. They have control over the services. I thought that was interesting. The claims and the underwriting. So being in a captive just allows these companies to have more control over the way the insurance is run for them. So it's not easier. It's not makes a company less safer. They actually have to be safer to be in a captive. Thought that was really, now there is some, they get a little, it's better pricing, from an insurance standpoint, but because of the way they can monitor who's in the group, they do better on insurance costs. Now, some of the risk, you get somebody in who's poor performer, like I was just mentioning, and man, you lose money, right? There's a lot of regulatory and tax matters that you have to be in, so it's not easier to be in a captive insurance, and it's a long-term strategy. Like you don't think you're going to get into make money this year or that year. It's kind of a long-term thing to kind of manage your insurance costs. Everything is taxed, so even we say things are in Bermuda or in the Caribbean or wherever, everything that's done is taxed in Canada. Hey, welcome to Canada. That's how it works. So some of the misconceptions that I was just talking about, that it's cheaper than regular insurance, that's wrong. Okay, that's totally wrong. That it's not for everybody. So you actually have to perform pretty well to be in a captive. It's not a tax shelter. Just because the insurance companies are located over in other countries, that doesn't mean it's a tax shelter or anything like that. And if you have poor performers, you have poor risk. You have everybody loses. So when you think about that, like, why would you would want to be safe? You'd want to be the safest because you're going to get kicked out where insurance might cost you more than what you're paying. And it's not really tied to safety. So they say that a lot of, you got to have different aspects of it. You got to have frontline insurance, collateral, capitalization. There's a lot of things that go into this. It is not for the easy part of it. So that was one of the things. Then she got into talking a little bit about cargo claims and that kind of stuff, which I'm not going to get into at this point. But I thought it was interesting about the captive insurance and what's happening there and how things are working out in that area. And hey, before we get into another topic here, just wanted to let you know about Ontario Truck Driving School. That's right. They are, if you're looking for training, and remember we talked about somebody who has a simulator and all that kind of stuff, these are the guys we suggest. Ontario Truck Driving School, they got 9 locations throughout the province. They've got great instruction. They've been around since 1978. They have heavy construction courses, heavy equipment courses. They've got truck training. They've got bus training, all kinds of stuff. So you can find a location near you no matter where you're going, and they're pretty big. Also, let me tell you about RS2000 Tax Services. They are a great tax company that specializes in trucking and farming. We use them ourselves. That's right. These guys are amazing. They operate throughout Ontario. So if you're in Ontario, check them out. If you're a truck driver or you have a business in trucking and farming, check them out. The cool thing is they come to you. You don't go to them. So they come to you and they work with you on your premises with your tax stuff. So that's very cool. All right, we're going to take a break here, and when we come back, we're going to be getting into some other topics. So here we go.
This has been another episode of the Lead Pedal Podcast. For more information or to subscribe to the podcast, visit theleadpedalpodcast.com and be sure to follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter.
By far my favorite station.
You're the best. Oh, yeah.
I love you guys.
Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast with your host, Bruce Outridge, where he talks all things trucking. Now let's get rolling.
All right, we are back today, and we are going to be talking now about positioning yourself for Ontario. Do you understand how a fleet's for opportunity, not Ontario? Do you understand how a fleet makeup goes? This is what we're talking about today. This is one of the big things we need to talk about. Before we get into that, let me tell you again about Rosedale Transport. They're a great transport company. They've got locations all throughout North America. They got 15 terminals just across Canada. Head office based out of Mississauga, Ontario. They have local work, regional work, highway, and owner-operator, and they've been around for over 50 years, one of the safest fleets on the road. So if you want to check them out, find out exactly what's going on with them, go look at Rosedale Transport for sure. All right, let's talk a little bit about being a truck driver and your fleet. I did this the other day. I did a presentation the other day for a trucking company. And if you go back to, let's see, we got to go back, not forward. If you go back to one of the episodes we had on the podcast, episode number, episode number, I just lost my pages. What happened to my pages? How come things are, they're all messed up. If you go back to page, episode number 1345 on our podcast, we talked about personal brand. Now, I did a whole presentation for a company on personal brand not too long ago for truck drivers. I talk a lot about branding and careers and business, and that's what our podcast does. And so we did a whole thing on that. And today I thought I would talk about where your makeup in a fleet. We have a lot of new drivers who come in and do not understand the makeup of a fleet, especially if you're from another country. You may not understand how that works. And so one of the things that we talked about was so if you're thinking of your fleet, I want you to think of your trucking company and the fleet that you're into, the makeup of the fleet. And let's just say that you have 100 trucks, okay? Let's just use that example. You have 100 trucks in your fleet. And your fleet is, let's say you're a new driver. Now, I talk a lot about the three tiers of a fleet, okay? So the very first tier of a fleet is what I call the 20%, the 20% club, I like to call them. These are drivers who are, and it doesn't have to be drivers. It could be staff employees, could be administration, whatever it is, mechanics. These are people that are stepping up and doing really good work as far as they're staying extra, they're putting extra attention into something. They might be coming up with new ideas. If they're a driver, they are the ones who are maybe polishing their trucks or taking that extra load. They're always on time, they're looking good, they're trying to make the company better. That's the top 20%. Those people normally are getting a lot of the opportunities for people in the industry, which I think is really really impressive. Now, below them is what I call the mid 60%. Now, there's nothing wrong with these people. These are good, hardworking drivers or employees. They're doing their job. They may not be putting as much extra effort in as the people in the top 20%, but they are doing a good job. They're hardworking people. You can rely on them. They've been around for a long time, and it's a good way to get going with your to be in that area. There's a lot of things to go on with that. And then there's the bottom 20%. So if you think of 100%, 100 trucks, you got the top 20%, which are your kind of your star employees, if you will. You've got your mid 60%, which are good, hardworking people doing great things. And I think that's, they're doing a great job. And then you've got the bottom 20%. Now, the bottom 20% are generally your drivers that are looking for a new job all the time. They're always looking to see if things are greener on the other side of the fence. They're having problems with their deliveries. They're always breaking down. They're always doing whatever it is. All right. They've always got stuff going on. Those are your bottom 20%. Now, when you're a new driver, I don't think you come in at the bottom of that bottom 20%. I think you come in at the top of that bottom 20%. And which way you move depends on you. So you're a good employee, you're working hard, you're doing your thing, you're going to move up into the 60%. If you are not doing things well and you're struggling, you're going to be in that bottom 20%. And that bottom 20% is usually revolving every year. There's always new drivers coming in, drivers going out. Nobody's happy. Nobody's working well. The ones in the 60%, they're doing well. Dispatch doesn't have to worry about them. And then there's the top 20%. So that's basically the fleet makeup. Now that's based on a for-hire fleet for the most part. Everybody's different, of course, depending on the makeup of their fleet and what they haul and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, and I've seen it the other way too. I've seen it where 99% turnover is normal. So that bottom 20% could be 99% later on. That's the thing there. So for the most part, that is where most drivers sit in that 60%. Now, how do you move up and down? So the 20%, I know a lot of people are going to go, well, that's brown nosing, kissing ass, whatever you want to call it. It's not. It's really not. It's just about working hard. And in trucking, you do not have to do a lot to be a star player, right? You got to be on time. You got to be presentable, have a good attitude, be a safe driver, take care of your equipment. You're done. Really, that's all you got to do to be a star driver. You don't have to do some of these other things like other industries where you have to take 100 courses and make sure that you're always moving up and all these kind of things. Being a driver is fairly basic. I don't want to say it's easy. I want to say it's basic. But if you do those things and you're the kind of person that, if you go back to the personal brand episode, everybody's known for something. Some people are known for other things. That's kind of what gets you into that top 20%. If you're known for good things, like helping out, be the kind of person that's willing to take an extra load, helping out in a pinch, that's going to get you into that top 20%. If you're the kind of person who never helps out, you're always busy, you never want to do anything, then that's going to put you in the bottom 20%. So just saying, that may not be the best place to be. But if you understand, and if you go back to episode 1345 on our Lead Pedal podcast, we talk about how to improve yourself as a personal brand. So I'm not going to get into that today, but I do want to talk about how you structure your fleet, and how that fleet is structured is really the difference of, or the way that the way that you treat your fleet is what's going to make the difference. So if you think of a driver, and if you think of a business owner, and I always had this mindset when I was a driver, even whether I was an owner operator or not, I had this mindset that this truck was my office, my business. Even if I didn't pay for it, it's what I wanted to do, and I treated it like that. So I tried to make good decisions, sometimes not the best decision, but I tried to make good decisions. I tried to treat it as, take care of the equipment, those kind of things, because I treated it as it was part of my brand, and that worked. That's what got me up to the top 20% in many of the companies that I work for. So one of the ways to do it is to think about who is your customer. If you are the truck owner, if you're an owner operator or one truck fleet or two truck fleet, you're already doing this. You already know who your customer is. But for drivers, sometimes you don't understand that because you're thinking, well, our customer is the reception or wherever we're delivering, or our customer is a shipper. They're customers, but they're not your top customers. Your top customer is your carrier. If you understand that, then you're going to start being successful. So I always tell people your first customer, and I've got a whole graph, which I will put into this, but there's a graph here of how you start and who's your main customer. So you've got your top 20%, you got your top carrier, that's your customer. Now, how come your carrier is the first one? Well, first of all, your carrier is most important. If you don't show up for work, if you're not on time, your carrier is going to fire you. Then your next one is basically your shipper, okay? Shippers are usually your main contracts for the company. You want to treat them well. Then you've got dispatch, you've got shippers, you've got reception. It goes down the hill. But here's an example of, we had a driver one time started our company, and he started on a Sunday. Nobody knew him, and he went down the road, and he was supposed to deliver Monday morning. It was an overnight trip, basically. Leave Sunday, deliver in New Jersey Monday morning. That's how it was supposed to work. This driver did not call in. We had to call in back then. This is before cell phones. We had to call in at certain times, and we had to, call in and say, okay, we're here at 7 a.m. or we're unloading or whatever. You'd call in the morning, and then you had to call in the evening, and then you called in whenever you were picking up or delivering loads for shipment numbers. All right, so that's basically the thing. So you had to call in by the end of the day, let them know where you're going to be, so they kind of knew where you're going to be. This is all before a computer. We were paper dispatch, all that kind of stuff. So this driver did not call in. He didn't call in Monday. Okay, so he's running late. We didn't see him on the road. We didn't know who he was. Nobody knew who he was. He started on a Sunday, didn't meet anybody. Tuesday morning, they're starting to get a little concerned. They're starting to ask drivers, have you seen this driver? And they couldn't say, well, he's in a red truck, because all of our trucks were the same color. So, we kept saying no, and we all kind of on that in those lanes, because there's probably about 6 or 7 of us running those lanes, that they would start, we all kind of fueled at the same place and saw each other and that kind of thing. So we never saw this guy. Wednesday goes by, no driver. Thursday goes by, no driver. Friday, he finally phones in on a Friday. And they told him, he said, okay, I'm here. He still hadn't delivered his load, but he was close to the customer. So they told him to go and deliver the load, and we did, and then they said, just come back empty. And he was fired. He lasted 1 week. Now, apparently he didn't like to run in the rain, so he didn't drive all week, which I don't know what he's going to do in the wintertime. We were in the Poconos when that happened, so that it rains every minute there. He had stopped at a different truck stop than the rest of us were stopping at, because he had his own fuel stop that he liked. And so he went there. So it was different. None of us went to that stop. We didn't even know that stop was there. And so that was the reason. And he didn't call in. He didn't fall. So he didn't even get to the shipper receiving stage. And he was already gone at the carrier stage. And that's why the carrier is your most important. If you don't perform for your carrier, you don't have to worry about the rest of them. So if you're a driver that is new to the industry and you're new to a company, you want to just basically follow the rules and perform. Just be a steady performer. Just be on time best you can. Take care of your equipment. Be a safe driver. Have a good attitude. If you can do those things, then you're going to do well in the company, and you will stay in the company. You won't have to worry about that bottom 20%. If you don't do that, and this is especially new for new drivers, if you get in there and you're changing companies every 6 months, or you're changing every year, and you're not listening to what's going on, then you are going to be in real trouble, and you won't have a good record. People won't hire you. So you want to make sure that, especially if you're brand new, that you get in with a company, stay there, just follow their rules, be a good performer, think of that carrier as your customer, and you will do well for that. That's exactly what you need to do. And then you'll be able to move on after that. And that's basically how it works. So if you just got to be a steady driver, but you got to be safe. So be safe. Take care of your equipment, all those things, and you're going to be a star driver. All right, there you go. So that's I think that's the basic makeup of a fleet. If you're with a private fleet, it's a bit different. I think I heard the number was more around 12% turnover. I use 20% for that bottom, but you know what? It doesn't matter where you are. Just be a good, safe driver, and you're going to do well in your career as a truck driver. And let me tell you a place that you can do really well. That's at Bison Transport. Bison Transport has different lanes, different opportunities. They have one of the best finishing programs in the industry. They even have a 7-and-7 program for those of you that are semi-retired from the seat. So check them out at bisondriving.com. They have opportunities all throughout the country, and we know that you're going to enjoy working for them. So tell them we sent you, and thanks for listening again to the Lead Pedal podcast. We are going to be doing some new stuff for 2025, so we hope that you will join us. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
This has been another episode of the Lead Pedal Podcast. For more information or to subscribe to the podcast, visit theleadpedalpodcast.com, and be sure to follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter.